Hello, everyone. I'm very excited for today's special guest. Baron Wright is the executive director of Baron Arts Incorporated, an experienced leadership facilitator. Baron is a creativity and life coach who absolutely leads with love. Baron, thank you for joining me in the V Spot today.
You are very, very welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So for those of you who don't know Baron, you'll shortly see why he is one of my favorite people. And, I want to first begin, Baron, by acknowledging, the courage that it takes to accept an invitation to join me in the V Spot when you don't know what questions I'm going to be asking. I really want to spotlight that is an example of vulnerability at its best. So up front, I really want to say thank you.
You're very
First and
welcome. And
foremost.
I'm completely excited about this and nervous.
Yeah, listen, right. That fine line. That's the fine line between excitement and nervousness. Well, it's been a while, right? We haven't seen each other for a bit. And so I figured a great place to begin was to really allow you the opportunity to share with us, what are you up to these days? What work are you currently doing? Let us know what's happening in your world.
Awesome. Well, currently I am, like you said, I'm a life coach. So Baron Arts is a life coaching and creative coaching sort of company. And so what I've been doing is do one-on-ones, I've been doing group. I also do group coaching. Got some programs, as well as facilitating workshops and stuff like that. So that's been my life for the past, I don't know, but coaching's been my life for years, over a decade of really supporting and really seeing people win. And so what I do now is what I've always been doing. It's just that now I have an actual platform, which is called Baron Arts. And the reason why it's called arts, because I'm an artist as well. And so I looked to creativity as a landing point to support people in declaring and achieving their life's goals.
I love that. So I'm first and foremost a huge fan, right, of the arts as it connects to the present healing for me, and also the future where we're looking to go. Tell us a bit about major life coaching. What's happening? That's something new that I caught a glimpse of, and I'd love to hear a bit about it.
Yes, Major Life Coaching is my signature coaching program. There's two prongs. There's a group format, and there's a one-on-one, more focused, more tailored to the client program. And when I said the word major, I looked at 5 things. One is like setting the mindset for coaching and for entering in the future in a new way. Right. Then there's accountability, which is what most people come to coaching for. You have ideas, but then you want the accountability to make sure you get the ideas actually into fruition. This third one is joy. I think we can move through life like a checklist.
Oh, yeah.
And the joy is around the process of developing and creating your dreams. Always opportunity, looking at things as opportunity versus obstacles. A lot of us look at things beyond the control as obstacles. I try to focus on, hey, maybe that's opportunities to sort of check in and look. And then the last one is results. Let's get some shit done.
That part. The reason people come, right? The results.
Right. But I think they do. And then what they do not know that they accept is the new practices, the mindset shift, actually experience themselves joyful throughout the process. It's what's sort of warms my heart with my clients. So that's what Major Life is. It's a coaching program that either one-on-one or it's a group coaching format.
I love that. So, one of the things that stands out about that I'm most excited to hear is the piece around joy, right? Because I know for myself, I am someone who, when I start to take action and work towards something, I forget that part. I forget that part, right? I jump into having a vision, doing whatever it is to move towards a particular goal. And oftentimes there's check-ins, people who love me enough to be like, are you enjoying yourself with this? Because you seem so I love that you built it into your model.
Yeah.
That's huge.
it's important to me to live a joyful life, given
Mm,
however life is happening. And so
yeah.
that's why that's why I made sure that was definitely part of it, bringing in joy, making sure that like I said, after every call, my clients leave with a smile,
Mm,
and I
I love
really
that.
look for that to be part of the work that I do with other people.
Yeah, that's great. And it makes me think about, with the work that I'm doing, I absolutely results are important. And I do have conversations with all of my clients about the importance and where they're looking to go, what are they looking to create. But what I really love too is the fact that I shine the light on the journey. And I hear in your share here too how important it is to actually enjoy the process. And then there's a trust and a knowing and a certainty the results come. Right. So
Hmm.
I love that that's what's, major life is about too.
Yeah, I say like the goal is the thing you're moving towards, but the gold is in the journey
Mm.
to the goal.
Oh, I love that. The
Ah,
gold. It's all about that gold. We got to rock it loud and proud. That's a good
exactly.
one. Yeah, I love that. Well, Baron, tell us a bit about, why coaching and facilitation. Like, let us know what influenced your decision. You said it's been about 10 years. What influenced your decision to do work that regularly seeks to uplift others and support them on the
Hmm.
golden journey?
That's a that's a great question. I think what's I think from me, I grew up in Newark, New Jersey, and like lower middle class, working class family, and being creative, I think saved my life. Just being a creative
Mm,
person actually saved my life. And I think I used to work with adults. So I think at a certain age, people forget to be creative.
mm, yeah.
And what inspired me was sort of like my own journey of like still being creative, still wanting to do new things, and living in a world where a lot of people forget that about themselves. And so I wanted to somehow make an impact in that way. So that's what I can say. That's been my focus. My energy is around just tap into your creative power, people,
Mm,
because it's still
yeah.
there. And then
Yeah.
once you tap into it, look at all of things you can create. Look how a different perspective has changed your life completely. And once I like had my first person I worked with like that, and I became addicted.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just being a giver, or being a vessel or support. Like I said, I was telling them I'm on a journey with you. I don't know more than you about your life. I just don't. And I
Yeah.
don't want to. So I'm on a journey with you. But if I can be in some small way supporting a new breakthrough, please.
Yeah. So many things that you said. And one of the things that really stands out is this idea of forgetting to be creative, right? Or stopping the creativity process at some point. And it makes me think of as children, we're encouraged to dream and dream big. And then somewhere along the line, the journey happened, right? We're on the journey life. And that's not encouraged anymore, and it actually stops. And so I often ask the question of like, what do I want to be when I grow up? And like, and encourage, like, keep asking well after childhood, well into adulthood, because, and I hear it with the creativity piece, what do I want to create? And the importance of asking self all the time,
All the
all the
time.
time. Yeah.
Because you're not finite until you've transitioned
Mm,
into wherever the new journey, until you transition no longer on this planet. You're not finite. You're always growing. And I think because as children we would think at a certain age you're finite. And
yeah.
I've always been in the question of what's next.
I love that. Yeah. And it makes me think about, like, in the conversation of finite, this idea that when we get fixed on, I already learned the thing, I'm already doing the thing, I'm already I arrived at a particular destination, whatever it may be, how much we rob ourselves of the magic of life, because it's like it's as if there's no other place to go.
Exactly. Like, have you ever defined yourself as something and then a couple of you thought you thought that that was it,
Mm,
and
right.
then
I'm like, can I put both hands
that's
up? I do it all the time.
right, and then
Mm.
you start seeing that there are edges to the
Oh
definition.
yeah.
You come up against the edges, and you want to be something else, and you're like, but I can't because I've already defined myself as this. And
Mm,
I'm always like, well, then what's the new you what's the new you? Like, for a minute, for a long time, I was like, consider myself a spoken word artist, right? I used to do spoken word all
yeah.
over New York City and other parts of the country. And then I got into music
Mm,
and
yeah.
recording arts. And so, but up until that point, it was like, I'm I'm only doing spoken word,
Yeah.
and but I was coming up against all this music. So
Right.
I redefine myself.
Mm,
And that's why I like sort of encouraging my clients, like, what's the new definition of who you are?
mm. Oh, so important. And like in this moment, I'm tapping into, for some of us, and I identify with this, and I wonder if anybody listening identifies with this too. For some of us, we wait for permission to redefine self, right?
Mm,
Like we just stay in this, and I identify with this, where for so long, because it's the thing I did, or because it's how I viewed myself and, let's say, my work or whatever. Um, that was the thing. And without knowing, there was this like unconscious yearning for permission, when the person who gets to grant it to you is the person in the mirror. And I love that you highlight, you know, that particular piece in terms of how music keeps knocking on your door. And then there's the invitation to recreate, redefine, reintroduce yourself, with that being a new
yeah,
piece. I love that. So
become something.
good. So good. What were you saying?
I said become something new, possibly.
Yeah, 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 exactly. And this the consistent evolution, right, of the journey, and the willingness to shut the navigation off and go for the ride, and where you feel guided to sort of get off and spend some time, take the scenic route, but nonetheless, being open to what it could all look like. I
Exactly.
love that. So if there is anyone listening who has been waiting for permission to reinvent, recreate, redefine, reestablish, try on new things, consider this the sign to
Because
go
this
for
time is
it.
new.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Baron, I think it's safe for me to speak for countless people when I say that you have this incredible way of making people feel very safe and very accepted. And there's a freedom that's experienced when we're in your company. Um, so, share with us, what sort of work do you do on yourself that allows for you to consistently show up as a safe space for other people?
That's no one's ever asked me that. That's a great question. Let me see if I have an answer. Um, there's certain rituals that I do, but they may not see on surface like it's actual things, but like I I walk my dog.
Mm,
um,
yeah,
and the reason I mentioned that, because it's something that's consistent every morning,
yeah.
and and in walking my dog, I feel like she walks me,
Mm,
because
I love that.
it's a grounding sort of
Wow.
ritual where I'm in my thoughts. I'm listening to a podcast or some music,
Mm,
or an audio book. So I'm always looking, always consuming information, and always, and I'm curious. I'm just the soul of me is just very, very curious
yeah.
about people, life, and things. Was why I love to travel. But like,
Mm,
so it's always looking at new perspectives, because I'm always challenging for myself, what's my limit,
yeah.
and so when I see other, and I have an empathy for people, so when I see other people, I'm always curious about what's your journey. I think everyone's life is worth like a movie script.
Oh yeah,
So
totally.
it's always what's your life about, and because I know life can, there's a billion ways in which you can approach life. I'm more curious than judgmental
Mm,
around other people.
yeah.
So I think that's what people may have made sense for me, that the curiosity, that I'm actually genuinely curious about what's going on with you. How did you arrive at that decision? Like
Yeah.
what's like, that's the part of who I am. And I think, yeah, I think that's what people sort of get from me. Cause I heard that before, and I appreciate you for saying it, about how
Yeah,
it's
of
like,
course.
Baron, like I people feel comfortable being themselves around me, right? And I
Totally.
think that's because I'm genuinely curious about people and their lives, and it comes from a sincere place.
Yeah, yeah, no, it's absolutely experienced. And I love the pointing out like the curiosity and willingness to get to know, right? Get to know people in a way where it's like, who are you? What are you about? What's playing in your movie, right? Let's like check it out,
Exactly.
with some popcorn and that, like wander. And I want to shine the light on, you mentioned like going for the walk as one of your practices. And I love that you say that. Well, first of all, I love how you highlight that the dog walks you, because I think it's so significant to point out in this moment. What I'm tapping into is how cathartic the walk is for you, right? And I think that this is so significant to highlight, because many of us have things in our life, daily rituals such as, that we potentially don't hold as work, right? Or personal development opportunities. But really, it's just that. It's not only healing and cathartic because it allows for being out in nature, being with your thoughts, being with your dog, but being able to listen to podcasts, being able to reflect, and these are practices often overlooked, but
Often
key
overlooked.
in, right? Key.
There
I
was
love that.
there was a moment where like she was saying, as like my dog was saying at someone else's house, and I was like, do I still go for the walk?
Mm,
And I was like, yes, you still go for the
yeah.
walk. So I would, like, even when she's
Love
not,
that.
yeah, I would still go for the walk because it was for both of us.
So good. So good. I hope that for everybody listening, there's an opportunity to really like take inventory over what you have in place already that serves you. Because it sounds like the walking of the dog and the dog walking with you is really like service, that allows for you to then show up and be who you are with other people in the way that you do on a consistent basis, right? Which is not easy work to do. um I love that. Anything else that stands out in this moment about, something that you do that supports your like how you show up as a person?
You know what? This, I'm not sure consistency, if this is part of consistency, but I um do things to celebrate myself.
Mm,
Right. One thing I say with my I say it's one of my what you call it? We say self-care is travel.
yeah.
Self-care for me is travel.
Mm,
And so in doing what I do I try to make moments of where I can actually physically go somewhere, go to a place, either place I've been before. 'Cause I've been to Mexico a couple of times, or
yeah.
a new place, just so I can experience a new experience for myself. So like, if
Mm,
if if it's ways in which, because giving out and being other people's lives, it can be at times, for coaches and trainers, you can sort of lose yourself,
yeah.
because the work you're doing, it's so energy based outward,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
That moments to replenish are far and few in between. So I always
Totally.
offer, like, let me set in some time to replenish, and for me, replenishing is travel. So if
Mm,
I'm on a plane and my passport is, using my passport is stamped, look.
yeah, listen, there's a whole restoration that comes from that in itself, right? That's
Mhm.
I love that. I think that, yeah, see, that's key. And what's special about this is pointing out, some people may think that we have to hold it as the traditional things, right? Reading a book, which there's nothing wrong with, and I love, but I
Mhm.
also love like stamping the passport, right? Because these are different out of the box ways that, you pour into you.
Mhm.
I think, and I love that. And also, two things that I want to highlight based on what you just said. One is this fact that it's the give out, right? The focus out when you're in service and coaching, consulting work, any sort of, mental health related fields, all of that. There's tons of them. When you are in service and you're constantly giving out, sometimes that's desirable because it allows for the focus out versus the, turning it around and looking within. And so I love that you highlight travel as a way of restoring, because I think that what I hear is that's your time to shift in, perhaps with different surroundings, but it's like now it's about going inward.
It's really about going in with I remember my first trip outside the US, and I always tell the story. I had walked in, I think I was going to the Dominican Republic, I think one of my first trips. And I walked into the store, and the guy behind the counter says, Americano.
Mm.
And it was the first time for me experiencing myself as an American.
Mm.
Not a black man,
Yeah.
but an American, which created a whole new dynamic for me as a person on the planet.
Wow.
Because
Yeah.
if I had not had that experience, if I had not traveled within the US, I can only view myself within the boundaries of the US.
Mm.
But once I started traveling, I started my sense of self has expanded.
Wow.
Having a conversation with someone in like Thailand, and understanding the similarity between what it is to be human, you are forever changed. And
Mm.
so so that's why
So
it's sort of
good.
become my focus in.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And with that, you're going somewhere special in the fall.
Yes. In the fall, we go. With that being said,
With that
yeah,
being said, perfect.
we are. I'm taking a group of, I think it's 10 people currently, or 9 or 10
Mhm.
people, to Iceland.
Wow.
I know my big black behind going to
So
Iceland,
exciting.
but
So good. So
it'll be
good.
my third time going, and
Mm.
I love it there.
Wow. What's your favorite thing about Iceland?
Um, so my my favorite thing, because there's a lot of there's a place that we go to called the Secret Lagoon,
Hmm.
and it's my own sort of my own. When I travel, I like to feel like I'm part of the citizens there. So
Mm.
because this lagoon is it's a smaller lagoon. We do go to the Blue Lagoon, which is a bigger, more touristy, more extravagant sort of lagoon. But the
Yeah.
Secret Lagoon is like a local hot spring. You
Mm.
come in, is
That's good.
no pretension, but it feels you feel like you're one of the people who live there.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
I really love, and also the eco village where we sort of stay, where we sort of get to know about what it is to live in a self-sustaining village. It's quite
Mm.
powerful in the whole industry. So those are my two favorite
I
experiences.
love that. I love that. Well, maybe, right? Maybe I'll be
Yes,
in Iceland in the fall. It
yes,
sounds, I've never been, and it's definitely on the bucket list. And, just really quickly, since we're on the topic, share that, like, how there's work involved in the trip for
yes.
folks who are listening.
Also, so yes, so in the trip, the trip is sort of help design. I have designed the trip. It's giving out and also giving in, because hello,
Mm.
welcome to Baron, right? So it's
Yeah.
so proceeds proceeds to the trip also supports the eco village that we visit, but you also work with me and doing some workshops, some inner work
Mm.
along with the trip. And so we
Okay.
stay in, I think, 4 different locations in 5 days.
Mm.
So you're being whisked around Iceland to get the experience of way different people live in Iceland. And
Right.
there's adventure, there's like I said, to give out, there's wonderful food, wonderful experience. You may or may not get to see the Northern Lights. I did it my last time I was there, which was amazing. We did sort
Oh,
of
wow.
accidentally.
Mm,
And you get to walk a glacier, which
mm,
is
wow.
top-notch experience
Wow.
in my life. One of my favorite experiences in my entire life.
Wow.
So
I
yeah.
love that. I love that. So there's an opportunity to see Iceland and do personal development work alongside Baron Wright. Add it to the list. I love that, Baron. Thank you. Thanks for, I'm glad that part comes up. No mistakes. Well, and it kind of connects to where I was going to go next, because, one of the things that I often speak about with my work is courage over comfort, right? The idea of courage over comfort. And so talk to us about what that looks like in your life right now. How are you challenging yourself with courage over comfort?
I and I'm gonna, because I am who I am, gonna be very transparent here. Courage over comfort for me is being an entrepreneur.
Mm.
Because comfort could hello, comfort could have been the way I see comfort. Comfort could have been working the 9 to 5, and I'm not knocking the 9 to 5, because
Yeah.
for people that's like it is what it is. It works. Um, but for me, it was comfort. For me, could have been that.
Hmm.
However, I felt just to me that there was something more
Yeah.
outside of working for others in that particular way, but sort of designing how do I want to work with people, which has always
Mm.
been at least in my these most recent years, it's been important to me. Like, how do I want to work with you,
Yeah.
and who do I want to work with in the world? Because there's some people, and they may have the check, but then the doesn't follow the same values that I follow, and
Yeah.
it's just something that becomes more important to me. But it's not comfortable.
Yeah.
Being an entrepreneur is not a comfortable position to be in, because you're consistently up against you.
Mm. I just got that memo, Baron.
You're consistently up against you. And like, look, some days I'm all gun ho, and then some days I'm like, why did I choose this path?
Right. Right.
But it's a consistent choosing of what your values are, because when you're
Hmm.
working for yourself, you've created your own values of what that work looks like. So you're consistently up against your own values rather than working for someone else. You're up because you're enrolled into their values,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
living and being and working inside those values. So
Mm.
that's where the tension comes from for me.
Yeah, and I hear you, speak of courage over comfort as a lifestyle in this particular context, right? It's like it's not a one and done. It's, day in, day out. And what I was thinking about when you talked about being up against yourself, ooh, like that's, the space that I'm in, right? It's so new, it's so unfamiliar in ways because of what's attached to it, right? I think I've always been up against myself in ways, but in
Mhm.
this moment, what I thought of as you were speaking was, well, if you're going to be up against anyone, why not be up against you? And have that be the commitment, because of what becomes possible when you are pushing back against your own narratives, your own beliefs, your own experiences, capacity, vision, creativity. um and I think that there's so much to come from that particular,
Oh
I
my
don't know,
God.
I hate to say it, battle, but in a sense battle versus like the external.
There's so much learning
So much.
to
Wow.
be had in declaring yourself
Mm.
and choosing your like, don't give me the culture. There's so much learning
Yeah.
in declaring and being and doing yourself.
Mm.
And I'm 100% grateful for it. But yes, it's challenging.
Yeah.
Don't let no one tell you anything different. It's challenging because you're also up against what the world say, and also what you may have believed about yourself in the past.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's, but when you say like courage, it takes that sort of courage to choose every moment, every day. This is what I believe in. This is what I believe I can make an impact for. This is what I believe
Mm.
people want.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm providing the void between want and have.
Mm. I love that.
I'm enough to do it, right? Because I'm enough to do it. So it's,
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I have the goosebumps because I think that it's rolling up the sleeves and doing that internal work that really allows for shifts and changes that are much needed and wanted in the world right now, right? Because I think that when we go inward to really, and transparently, this podcast, like this is me up against my own vulnerability, right? Me up against my own fears. And when I do it and push through and show up uncomfortable and have the discomfort, feeling all throughout, right? Who gets to listen to and then access something that they hear from you, Baron, where it's like, oh, and I think that there's just so much value in continuing to be with the self in that way.
Very.
But yeah, absolutely. I hear it as a courage over comfort for you as a lifestyle based on choosing the entrepreneurial path and all that comes with it is both beautiful and challenging and everything in between.
It
And
is.
yeah, it's very interesting, a new territory for me, but very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Well, we're arriving here at the last question, and then we'll go into the final round. I often I use my platform to speak about mental health, and I share openly about my own history with, anxiety, depression, panic disorder. And I'm wondering, how have you been supporting your mental health during these very challenging days?
Mm. Some of it is what I said before around replenishing, which is the travel and um, having and getting space,
Mm.
right? So also it's part of like the morning walk is a mental health thing for me.
Hmm.
Even my dog's not here, I'm thinking I need to take this walk
Yeah.
because it sets up my entire day. Um, what I have is a really great support system.
Mm.
I like to really really honor those people who, at the drop of a dime, I can call upon and
Mm.
say, hey, my mind is not my
Yeah.
mind around this situation. Because look, we all went through 2020, right? I think
Listen.
during that year, like my mother passed away, and
Mm.
like life was shifting, and so there was moments where I was like, I need to be taken care of.
Yeah.
And so I think I had like a strong support system, and my family,
Yeah.
who also is part of my support system, but sometimes, um, for reasons beyond my control, there's sometimes there have been distance, but like when I need to call upon them, they're there.
Mm.
And so those are, and working through my own self-talk,
Mm.
right?
That part.
Under, practicing ways in which to, when the self-talk is not a way that's working for me, check it.
Mm.
Where is it
Yeah.
coming from? Right. And
Yeah.
what new language can I add to counter the self-talk, and what language can I remove? I'm really good at that part.
Mm.
Because I'm very big on language. I think it's a poet in me, but I'm really big on language. So like,
Mm.
what language do I include, and what language I've removed, so I can start voicing my life in a new way. Those are the steps, some of the stuff that's been very supportive for me in my mental health.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, what I was going to say is first and foremost, to express condolences on the loss of your mom,
Thank you.
and highlight that, yes, like 2020 and 2021 and the grieving process, right? And the tenderness of being on that journey at the same time that the world is whirling in chaos, right? And there's so much uncertainty and upset, and upheaval, and managing mental health through all of that. you know I just hear like the gift of having the network that you value and can turn to, and the practices, the walking with the dog, and you know the inner dialogue, and being in tune, like just so essential. you
Yeah.
know um and for everyone out there who is navigating similar circumstances and trying to manage it all at one time, the grace and space, right, and compassion to one day at a time, right? And if
Hmm.
there's not a network available to you, to lean into safe spaces, potentially like this one, where you can start to have conversations that's carry you through.
Yes. I just want to say one piece.
Mm,
Because I talk about language and how I remove, and I don't want to say like it's an easy process.
mm,
It's a process that I've done over years, but it's a process that anyone can do. Just start understanding when you like the word stress. I don't use the word stress.
mm,
I'm saying it to you today because I'm
yeah.
hiding in this conversation, but it's not a word that I use daily or anything because I have a belief
Wow.
that stress can cause things within within the body within my livelihood. So I don't
Mm,
use that word to describe whatever I'm going through. I try to figure out a new way in which I can, a new word or a new circumstance, not describing stress, but what's possible for me.
I love that. That's a huge takeaway. Thanks for putting that into the space. I think that's key, and I absolutely would like to try that on as a strategy. Because it really eliminates giving any sort of energy to, and then what becomes possible as a result of. I love that. That's so good. I have a few words that are worth taking out. Thanks, Baron. That's a nice
You're welcome.
golden nugget. Yeah. Um, all right. So for our final piece, we're going to do a speed rounds. I call it the forwarding four. So
Awesome.
I will ask you four questions, and you will answer with the first thing that comes to your mind, knowing that there's no right or wrong answer. It's just where you feel intuitively driven to go. So tell me when you're ready, and I'll give you number one.
Ready.
All right. Number one, name one area of your life where you are intentionally healing.
Relationship.
Mm. Number two, share a song that's been inspiring you lately.
Vessels. I forget the guy's name actually, but song's called Vessels.
Vessels. Okay. Number three, what's your call to action to the collective in this moment?
Peace.
Mm. Yeah. Number four, what forwarding message do you want and need to give to yourself in this moment?
Um, huh. Continue to honor your tribe and continue to speak highly of yourself.
Mm, I love that. I love that. All right, Baron. So, where can folks find you? So, if they're interested in learning more about the work that you're doing.
Yes, so you can find me if you have Instagram. You can find me on the Baron Wright. That's one R, the Baron Wright. Website is thebaronarts.com. Um, Facebook Baron Wright, LinkedIn Baron Wright, and
Amazing.
yeah.
All right, great. I'll drop it into the show notes too, so folks could just click on it to find you. Baron, thank you for joining us in the V Spot. It's always a pleasure to share space with you and spend time together. I want to say thank you for gracing the space. And everybody else, thanks for joining in, with Baron and I. To be continued.